So welcome to all of these great folks here. We're from People's Academy, and it's getting personal. Like I said, it's close to my heart. So we're going to have a presentation on advisory.
Just as a little demonstration, this is one of the ways we start our morning meetings. To give you something to do while you're waiting, so you don't get into trouble.
All right, so every morning we start with a sign-in board, as you can see. Some mornings it's a question, some mornings it leads us right into our share, some mornings, typically toward the beginning, it has something to do with writing your name somewhere or voting on something. And today's share is your favorite place to be, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through. One of our favorite greetings in the morning is to do the snake greeting. It gets students up out of their chair. We sit in a circle every day. One person gets up and turns and greets the person next to them. In my TA, we've moved to the point of contact, so we do a handshake, but we do talk about eye contact and the importance of saying people's names, and it's just a nice way to start the day, to be greeted. Our overview and research question. So our TA structure has evolved over the past few years. It started a couple years ago as sort of this add-on. It felt like we should do that, so we're going to plunk it in here, but it wasn't done with integrity, and it was also up against recess, and we all know how that goes. And then we tried to cram some like social skills curriculum in there that just didn't feel like it was doing what it was supposed to do.
And it was also only 2 days a week.
And it was also only twice a week. It wasn't every day. So we got the opportunity to totally overhaul our schedule this year. We made a lot of big changes at People's Academy middle level. So with that came this implementation of TA every day. So we start every morning 8 to 8:20 in a multi-age TA, either 5th and 6th grade or 7th and 8th grade. The TA model is aligned to our mission-related goals, which are our transferable skills. And in our LSSU district, we've identified 11 indicators of transferable skills, but the 3 big ones are construct, express, and act. The alignment to our school-wide expectations is also there. So our students are brought up saying that PI wolves are safe, respectful, and responsible. So we decided to tie the 2 alignments together, and our focus really was around acting responsibly, because that's a good life skill. Our question then, does our new TA structure, which started just this year, provide students opportunities to act responsibly, and not just in TA, but are they applying that to the other aspects of not only their school day, but their life? And we specifically focused in on those moments in the day where they're kind of on their own, using strategies or not using strategies, like at recess or in the lunchroom.
Okay, so our TA is everyday morning meeting style, and I think that's really important. Every kid gets to start their day by being greeted, having that. You know, there are no requirements for meeting. Can you think of your favorite place to be? It's not something you can get wrong or make a mistake in. So it's been important to us to keep it steady. What does it mean to act responsibly? So does anybody in this room live in the same town where you teach or work? Okay, so that's how I am as well. So my wife and I moved to the town of Morrisville, where we teach. We noticed the kids would look you in the eye, and they were very respectful to adults. This is about 10 years ago. So over the time since then, we noticed that less and less in the community. So when we started thinking about this, I heard morning meetings coming back. That's the first thing I said to my wife, morning meetings coming back. It's going to be awesome. And we see it already. I think Halloween's really big in Morrisville. And this Halloween, I thought was the most pleasant ever, and there's such a good feeling of, just neighborly love in the village, and I don't really hesitate to attribute that to bringing morning meeting back, and I feel like we see that in our school as well. What does it mean to act responsibly? Any science teachers? Okay, so for non-science teachers, things might be a little different for you, but this year I feel like I can give them the lighter. So, that comes from, that's because I know we have some trust and we have some community built. Like I know, they're not going to do anything naughty with the lighter. Last year, I wouldn't give them the lighter. Let's see, we follow the circle of power and respect. This is we got at the beginning of the year for our in-service, our final in-service, we had all of our teachers together. And we had a really nice, all-day-long circle of power respect training.
Designated designs.
Developmental
designs.
Yeah, and it's just really powerful. A lot of us had the experience from before when we had morning meetings, and it's part of our school culture because they have it in the younger grades. And so a lot of us were excited about that. We saw how it worked with the grown-ups. It doesn't always work the same with kids as it does with grown-ups, as you may know, but it's been awesome. I'm really, I was telling someone just this week, I feel like I'm at a new job now. And I wasn't ready for it as a beginning teacher. But now I really see these benefits. Just every day we start calm. So if you think of your class, if you ever have a day where you're starting your class a minute late or you're not quite ready, that follows through the whole class, the whole day. So as we're starting very calm, and then we build on a strong foundation. Multi-age has been really cool because I'm in the 5th, 6th group. Ms. Bronner's in the 7th and 8th, and I think we're all in 5th, 6th. You go everywhere. But I'm seeing all these cross-age and cross-gender friendships that you wouldn't see before. You know, I'm not talking to a 5th grader, you know, but now we see the multi-age is spreading and as friendships even beyond the CPR time. And looping, I'm excited about this because my 5th graders I'll have next year again. So we're going to be able to take this culture we've built. And our 6th grade, in my group particularly, the 6th graders are rougher than the 5th graders. So we're like, oh, well, once all these rabble-rousers are out here, I feel like we're going to really build a strong culture. We've been through the storm, and it's going to be really calm bringing the new kids in. So fostering responsible citizens, they passed the lighter test. Walking around town, you know, it's a more pleasant place to be. So that's that. So again, we have it every day. This is our sacred time. You know, at work in the school, they have there are always surprises and stuff that has to be done today, right now. But we try to make that come after 8:20. So whatever this emergency we couldn't foresee that has to be done today, let's do it 8:20 or after. Team teaching, our TAs, we all have a partner. So you have your classroom teacher and a partner. Maybe the guidance counselor will be your partner with Stephanie's case and Jessica. But okay, yeah. So we told you a little bit about the summer training. That was just it was almost like philosophically we started our year with this. So our whole staff was in the day-long morning meeting. And I guess the main idea is that you need the share, and you need a greeting, you need the different components to work together. Trying to make this for our MGI work. Well, we got to get scientific here. So we looked at our incident report data. We surveyed the students and teachers with Google Forms, and just using our observation interviews, we're seeing how this is affecting things. So I think I'm going to. Am I passing on to the next person? Bottom line for me, I hope we always keep this, and I recommend it to all of your schools to have. Just think about it. It's we all know you learn most at the beginning of a learning experience. So how's your beginning? Well, we care about you. We're all in it together.
So you can tell we're passionate about this. It's been really fun. So the next thing we'll jump into experientially, the share. We were hoping to be able to actually do a TA with everyone, but in the interest of time, we're not. So with this, our share, we would come back to when they came in for writing on the board, and this would come, so we would do our greeting, then we would go into the share. So we would start anywhere. We can either do the popcorn style, or we can start at the beginning of the circle and just go around and everyone share where their favorite place to be and why. And then through this, we would also talk about this time of year and linking this to a strategy for being a responsible citizen, because I like to be at the beach. Why? Because it relaxes me. I love the sun. We want to bring in the sensory details to help with the emotion regulation, because this is something that they can carry across environments and ages as they get older. We want them to be able to identify that. Back to the data findings, the incident sheet, we have behavioral incidents, so we looked at that with our psychologist who keeps track of that. What we found is in the year from September 2015 to September 2016, you can see 211 this year versus 335 total incidents, so a big decrease. August to October of last year, in the same time this year, we had last year 32 referrals in the cafeteria, where Alex mentioned this unstructured time, and then 11 for recess, compared to this year 16 for the cafeteria and 14 for recess. And you notice the difference. It's because we added 2 more days of recess this year. We added, so every day we have that recess.
And 8th graders are actually having recess every day too.
Yes.
And last year we did not.
That's correct. Yeah. So
you,
yeah. We have a survey link that is actually the questions that we sent to the students, but the observations that we got from our surveys, an interesting link. Is everyone going to get our PowerPoint?
We can certainly share.
And if you want that, because the survey, the questions are really quite interesting. And so what we found was 39% replied the reason for TA is to be a responsible person. Overall high ratings, good and very good for their experience in TA. 58.5% state that it helped them with other problems during the day. And suggestions that they had for TA was sparkly stickers, ice cream, and dance party.
They're right.
Okay, I was going to show you this activity, but we don't have time to do it. But so every day, you have some kind of activity. A lot of times you might work the activity in with your greeting, and depending on the comfort level of your students, you really work from the point of that it's really easy to work together to more difficult things. And this particular game, in my class, you can add different levels of it, and then we would reflect together, how did that work? And then some students might come up with different rules or strategies to help other students. So a lot of the activity is not only doing the activity, but reflecting on it and how did it make you feel and that kind of stuff. All right, we ready?
Yeah.
Okay,
So a typical day in TA, like we've kind of already said, you have a greeting, some type of activity, and a reflection. And all parts are equally important. If the reflection, which tends to be something that we always sometimes don't have time for, if it doesn't happen, then the message is kind of lost. So it's very important to get that reflection piece in. And so there's just 2 examples up here of sign-in boards. Please sign in with your favorite place to be, which is what we did here, and then what did you have for breakfast, which we signed in with how important, or that led into the message of how important it is to have a healthy lifestyle with our activity that we had done that day. Some activities at the beginning of the year were more learning styles and personal interests. They did a diversity wheel, which was just a visual of how, with a little key off to the side of how their developmental lifestyle or their personality was a lot different than people just by using colors. And interest inventories, all the way to team building and building trust, or just basically a time for sharing. Kids really like to be able to talk and share what's important in their lives. Okay.
And then, so this is what I would have up projected every day for students to, when they come in. And sometimes I have up there, what to write on the morning meeting or on that board, but sometimes I don't. So it's just to get us back to things. And for the New Year's, I had, just a couple of different cultural, things we do for New Year's. And then the next one was the grapes, okay? So, like, if you can get 12 grapes. So then on Friday, I brought in donuts and grapes, and they were trying to stuff 12 grapes, although I didn't tell them to do that. They seeing if they could stuff. So if you look at the last day of Friday, and so it just, every day, and we try to have, thinking good thoughts. We had one whole section about 2 weeks on just kindness and how to be kind to each other, and we would sign in with what are some words of kindness. So they would just sign in with that, and then we talk about it and share. And I have a young man that is nonverbal, and so he's in our morning meeting, and it was a really special day because 2 things. One is he was able to, he read his book to us with help, obviously. But then he loves music, so we got to play musical chairs too. So Friday was a big day, and today, this week. Yes, that was just yesterday.
And these are just some successes. Spirit Week, which allows kids to have that conversation. What do we want Spirit Week to look like? And have some say into activities that take place in the school. They got to choose their name and the logo.
with with it celebrations, Just Dance. Is that, they want to dance, so we let them do that. And then this is one theater school. Do now questions. She posts them up, and then the kids can come in instead of a sign-in. They use a Post-it to answer the question that they walk into. More celebrations. We celebrated the first month of school by giving them the typical letter with everything being a piece of candy, and telling them how special they were. Mystery motivators are envelopes that they can pull when they reach certain points in, like scholarly habits is one thing that I think I would do, or I do, is once they reach so many points as a class, they're able to pull one of the motivators, and they decided what to put in it. So this was one of the things they decided to put in it was silent reading with comfy seats. And so they had earned that. And then celebrating through the holidays. It's one of the things that the developmental designs said is that you really want to build that family that it's not, it's great to have structure and something to, consistent for them, but it's also to make sure that they know that they are part of this family too, and you can have these celebrations that aren't maybe as structured as you would have every single day. And so painting pumpkins, we had a Thanksgiving feast where we all participated, and we invited the 8th grade advisory down to eat with us. So it was that mixing, and then they exchanged gifts during the holidays, or during the Christmas break.
So as far as what's next for us, obviously this is far from over and we're not even through our first year of it. So basically to continue to reflect and refine and evaluate our TA model and sort of reinvigorate it, we are thinking that we're going to implement an act responsibly learning scale so that we can tie it to a transferable skill in one of the proficiencies. And then that would just be a way for students to more clearly see, am I doing these things? Am I proficient in acting responsibly? And what does that mean and look like? We're going to continue our data collection. We'd like to interview more students and teachers in this next semester to gain their insight. A big piece of it, though, is to rejuvenate our TA work from our summer training. Our high school is attached, and they've been doing TA for many more years than us, in a different way because it's developmentally responsive. But we have some great resources in the high school who have come to help our middle level faculty kind of reinvigorate. We hit a point, I would say December probably, right before the holidays, everybody just kind of, you get distracted and everything's busy. And so we had a high school guidance counselor come in and just like open the door on all these new activities, and I think we felt rejuvenated from that. So basically using our local resources, which were great. And then we're going to continue our staff training. A lot of our faculty meetings have started with a greeting or a share or an activity, which has been not only a great way to start a faculty meeting that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't live in a faculty meeting, but also to add ideas and help with that.
And to build our relationship too.
Yeah.
It's been nice.
It has been.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's it for us. Yeah.
Many schools have started doing their PLPs during advisory. Is that, when do you do your PLPs?
So with our schedule overhaul came this new opportunity to have academic time in the morning, which follows TA. So you keep most of your TA students, but it's not TA. So we're not, TA, as we said earlier, is like that sacred time. We're not going to let PLPs or assessments or even announcements, honestly. We don't have any, the intercom doesn't go off from 8-20. Which is great. So we really are keeping it that sacred time, but our overhaul has enabled us this 25-minute academic time, which some days looks like a study hall, some days looks like missing work. It is the way to fit in those emergencies that Joe mentioned, those things that have to be done right now. But it also is the place to get PLP work done. And at the end of the day, we have opportunity time. It's our way to sort of toe in the water flexible pathways within our building. And that's another time where students are working on goals and working on their PLPs. So we've got over an hour a day. Or not on Fridays. Fridays are different. But over an hour a day for PLP and goal work outside of TA.
And I can also say, like in science class, if a student, if we've just finished a project and they have some really good evidence now to show the MRGs, that I might say, if you're, wanting to upload this evidence as part of your PLP, that now would be a great time to do that. So just trying to, remind them of those things as you're throughout the day too. Is right.
How does the teaming work? Like, are your advisories or your TAs bigger because you're combining 2 groups together with 2 teachers, or like what does that configuration look like?
That's a great question. I would say our TAs are probably bigger than what would be, recommended by developmental designs. They're like 15
I have
to
17.
18.
Yeah, 18.
Yeah, so the 2 teacher piece was not only a great way to make sure every adult in the building is involved in the morning, but it also opens the door for relationships. Like the music teacher is my partner, and it's been his way to sort of introduce himself to kids who aren't in band and chorus, who wouldn't know him otherwise. But I do think that part of the reason for the bigger TAs, it was nice to have a partner, so it's more like a 9-to-1 ratio in the larger TAs.
And do you guys do the same, does everybody do the same thing every day, or you kind of, each partner maps it out?
Yeah, each partner
Yeah.
maps it out.
Ideally, we hand it to the kids.
Right, and we've had a lot of student input, and the first couple of weeks I had, students were really excited about running TA, and they did everything, and made the slides and everything. It's kind of fallen off, and I don't know, there's.
She teaches the upper house.
Yeah, I do 7th and 8th grade, and you know how that can get to be like, oh, you didn't do a good game, I don't even know what's going on, but you know what I mean? So I'm hoping we'll get back to more students doing it, because that's really, really powerful when they do.
And coming down, some of the 8th grade have come down
Yes.
and led our 5-6 too,
Yes.
which has been really nice.
That was fun.
Several times. And I felt like they did such a better job than I was doing. I was just like, wow, you tied this all together, and it was just fabulous the way they really put thought into it. So
And they're cooler than we are.
yeah, our kids are really like.
In the back first, then we'll come up to you next.
Just a couple of kind of simple questions for context, like how large is your building, your student population?
Yeah.
It's 5 through 8, correct? And that's the first piece. And then 2, your configuration for teaming. I'm just curious, is it do you have a team structure, 4-person team, 2-person, 4-person team, 2-person team? The reason I ask is when you're doing the cross grade level. For advisory, I'm trying to just picture how that came together. Because then we'd be crossing teams for, I was just kind of thinking in our building, we'd be crossing teams for advisory if we were to do that, because, we're set up in 6th, 7th, and 8th instructional teams.
We're close to 300 students, correct?
270 is what we're.
270, there we go.
Yep.
Look at her.
Yeah, and
270.
in our overhaul, we became 2 houses, so we're a lower house, 5th and 6th grade, and an upper house, 7th and 8th grade. And within those houses, there are 2 teams. And the teams consist of 2 humanities teachers in most cases, a science teacher and a math teacher. And we do TA in the morning, and then we do teach 5th grade and 6th grade through the day.
So their advisors, are they necessarily their teachers?
Yes, advisors are core teachers. The secondary person, the team in advisory, might be someone they don't have. Like I have the music teacher, so students may not see him during the day if they're not in band or chorus or in a music extension or something.
My partner is the literacy specialist, so some students see her, but some don't.
So I'll shut up after this, I'm sorry.
That's
No,
okay.
it's fine.
So this I guess beginning to, so does like a humanities, like you talked about the science teacher, the math teacher, 2 humanities teachers,
Mhm.
do they teach multiple grade levels?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, we do.
We can draw you a picture. It was confusing to us too.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to, and
Right, how
give you
to-
context, thank you.
Yeah.
In front.
Yeah, I have too many questions. One that I'm really struggling with is, as I've watched advisory programs through the many years, a lot of schools struggle with this exact question I think Chris is raising, and that is the effectiveness of having students be advised by teachers they may or may not see, or who would, be advising kids I don't teach.
Yeah.
So, and yet the dividend of the multi-age and the continuity of care over time sort of sometimes balances it out. So I'm wondering, you're still new at this, right? So you haven't been at it long enough to see, but do you imagine that that's going to balance itself out? In other words, it doesn't necessarily have to be that I'm advising all the kids I teach.
Well,
But you said everyone had a core teacher.
Yeah.
right, so.
Okay,
One
so-
partner is a primary.
Right, and I've done this a long, long time too, and have had different types of advisory. At one point, I had an advisory with 4 grade levels in it, and just through the years. But what I really like about this is, one is I am their core teacher, so I'm kind of that anchor, and the other person they will see sporadically, maybe not everybody, but she comes every day. So
Right.
now they've got this relationship with her. But also, I like the fact that I do see those students every day, because I have been in the situation where I have students that I would not see during the day. And that, I did not find that effective at all.
Right.
So I
I think you've answered my concern. So
Yeah.
you really do have enough, everybody has that anchor.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
And then the second question is with CPR. So I taught multi-age 3 grades, but the 8th graders were my most challenging with
Yes,
CPR.
yes.
And, I wondered how the circle of power respect, have you run into roadblocks with that? There's some kids who just sit, which is fine,
Yeah.
but what have you experienced with that? And has anything special worked for you?
Well, I was just gonna say, I have the 7th and 8th grade this year, and we were just talking about it out there, and that, it's tough. I don't have any great answers on the one. I have 2 to 3 8th graders who pretty much they participate at the minimal level and do a lot of, okay, but then I have 2 8th graders who have said out loud in front of other students, TA is the best time of my day, best part of my day. So, you get all of that, but it's a tough, 8th grade's a tough roadblock.
And developmental designs would have said that answer when we were talking about that is, you go back to the basics. You go back to what is respect, what does it look like, how do we act, you constantly have to bring that back into the tone that we set on day one.
Right.
Practice it again, model it,
Do they pick their own CPR topics or help to do that?
They can, yeah.
Or
Yes.
volunteer?
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely.
for that?
As I said earlier, this is certainly a real area of passion for me, and as you can see, it is for this group from People's Academy. So I want to thank you all so much.
Thank
I
you.
just love this opportunity.